All right, so here we go. I am going to do my African American best to get through all of this without crying or doing any of that emotional shit. But just an astrology breakdown because astrology is like, I think it's the bane of my existence, is how people say that. But I have a Gemini Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, and they all sit in my 10th house. I have a Mars in Cancer, which is just Mars is like the planet of like aggression, how you go about doing things, and Cancer energy is just it's in detriment there. So it's not the most comfortable. Like even, I think it's funny because I'm someone who's very open. I'm an open book is what I usually say, but when it comes to actually expressing emotion, it makes me so uncomfortable. Like even that laugh to me is a representation of that. But yeah, no, I've been reflecting a lot lately as I'm out in Tulum. I quit my job over a month ago just due to the environment, and I'm a big believer that things get uncomfortable for you so that you take bigger leaps of faith on yourself. And there were just a lot of things that showed up that were not favorable to me. And as somebody who's receptive to energy, I could definitely tell that they were wanting me to leave as well. So I did what they couldn't do, right? But no, I've been reflecting a lot lately as I have been here in Tulum, establishing myself, establishing my business, the skeleton of my business, and what I am pursuing with a fitness brand, and how movement has always been extremely personal to me. It has been a way for me to be with myself when I felt as if no one wanted to be with me. Oh my God. Yo, oh Lord. Please don't start that crying shit. But yeah, I just felt as if I've always kind of been like an oddball. I've always been someone who's been pushed to the side by people, and it's not a good feeling. It's not the most, it's not a confidence builder, I will say that, you know, but a lot of life is figuring out how to identify yourself, at least I see it that way, and ways to uplift yourself without relying on the affirmations of people outside of yourself. Movement, fitness, athletics, it has just been a big assistance in that for me. And I'm very appreciative of that. I feel like my body is essentially the proof that I have been, you know, dedicated to myself, whether I've had food to eat, whether I've had a place to sleep, whether I've had, you know, the money, whatever the roadblock could have been, I have essentially made sure over the last 21 years that I have moved my body, just because it's helped me stay together. When I was younger, it's like a very common thing, or at least maybe just growing up in certain eras, right? But it was very common to do like a lot of foot racing with your family or just the neighborhood kids and shit like that. And so I was definitely one of those kids doing the back and forth racing. Definitely got my ass whooped like every fucking chance they got. I could remember being in the back, right? But eventually with time I would catch up to them, and I built endurance. Oh yes, I built up this beautiful endurance by losing so much, and I think that even is a lot to say in itself. But and in taking a lot of those losses, eventually in the 7th grade, I walked on to a track team. I believe the coach like put me on like the 800 and the mile, so that was just kind of, I just gravitated towards it. I ended up moving to Georgia for middle school and through high school. I graduated high school from Grayson High, and in the 10th grade, I walked on to the distance team, where like my first practice was essentially a race. For like the JV team, which was really dope. I walked on like halfway through the season, but it was the beginning of me seeing myself, establishing myself as an athlete. I placed like middle on the team, which was a nice little pat on the back, ego boost type thing. And by the end of the season, I think my PR for the 5K was like 1930. It wasn't like it was 1930. And by my junior year, my PR for the 5K was 1706. So I saw a lot of progress between my sophomore and junior year in cross country, which, you know, you don't got to tell me twice. If I see something and I'm going to keep going after it. So I can remember my coach setting us up like he with a summer program for what we should be doing over the summer to whatever goal that we may have had. For me, I saw myself jump from 1930 to 1706, so clearly I was ready to do some big shit my senior year. As I also saw it as an opportunity for me to get a scholarship and to run for a bigger school. I was very, and probably still pretentious, I wanted to run for a Nike sponsored school. It's just what I saw for myself. So I did my research. My coach did his thing as well, but I felt I had much deeper knowledge than he did, my coach. Yo, shout out to Coach Bradbury, bro. But yeah, I definitely felt that I had more knowledge than him and what I should be doing. And so I applied what he had for me, and then I did my own add-ons. I ended up overtraining my senior year, and I was just exhausted. In short, I was just exhausted. I ended up running, I think 16:21 was the PR. I placed 15th in state my senior year, which was decent, but it wasn't what I wanted. I definitely wanted to be top 5, just to solidify things, you know? It was a goal, it didn't happen, but again, learning to take losses. I was such a sore loser and still working through being a sore loser at 36. I love winning. I love dominating. I love knowing that there is a huge fucking gap between me and the competition. And the reality of that, there's always going to be someone bigger. There's always going to be someone faster. And it's just, it takes turns. Well, movement has always been something that has helped me process. Whether I recognize it in the moment or not, it has been something that has helped me process pain, my growth, my shortcomings, the things that I am good at, the things that I do want to pursue in life. And it gave me a sense of belonging to myself. Again, I've always been someone who's been more of a loner. Even right now in Mexico, like I traveled here alone. I've got my 2 dogs, but I'm someone who generally does everything by myself. While I do have the support of my family, we're all adults, we're all, have our own lives and everybody's doing their own thing. So the chances of me being with them even, it's just not a reality. And in my observations and just reflecting and looking around, it's always so nice to see people when they are in these relationships with people. Oh my God, if you start that crying shit, girl, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you, respectfully. But like even here, I'm at this like beautiful location, and it's like I see a lot of couples, and I'm just like, man, must be nice to have somebody to share, your experience with. And yeah, that's just that. Yeah, so my senior year of high school, I didn't produce the times that I wanted. My ego was out of this world though, because I knew and still know that I'm someone who is destined for greatness. You couldn't talk me out of it if you wanted to. Like I look at myself and I see it. There's not a space that I go to where people don't see it as well. I've always been on the brink of greatness, and it's only been a matter of time before it has all happened for me. It has been extremely frustrating on my end that it has taken so long, but I just know that and also through just life and experience, that everything happens in divine timing in the way that it's supposed to. And as much as I want to rush the experience and the timeline, it's just not, it's not in my hands. The only thing that I can do, and something that's affirmed to me through the people that I love, value, and respect, is that all I can do is my best. I gotta keep showing up, and I've gotta keep honoring what I've been dedicated to, even when I'm fucking tired, even when I don't have the money for it, even when I don't know what is in front of me. I went to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. I was following a friend out there who was a runner as well. And she got in a scholarship, and I thought, man, if she could get one, I could definitely get one, right? But no, the coach wasn't really feeling my vibe. He wasn't, fucking with how I went about my training into the summer, which is totally fair. I was just wanting to give my body rest. And it just didn't work out, long story short, right? So I moved back home. I returned back. I worked at Abercrombie. So I went back to work in retail and just trained. In 2010, I was in this momentum. I was working 2 jobs at the time and just continuing on with my training. Where December 6th, 2010, a day that I wish that I could forget, I was hit and run over by a car. And the most traumatizing experience of my life, because there's I don't know if it's in the shot, because the thing, whatever, but this beautiful scar here, the way my knee needs to be replaced, I was gifted. I was gifted a grade 3 ankle sprain. My hip is dislocated. And yeah, when it happened, I was 20 years old, but they told me that I would eventually need a hip, knee, and ankle replacement, which was probably 6 years ago, if not more than that, due to my lifestyle. Like, I've been someone who's never really had a car. I've always been someone who's walked and done public transportation and things like that. That's just the cards that were dealt to me, so I did what I had to do. So yeah, through all of that, through the weightlifting, through the yoga, through the running, definitely need more support in my leg. But what I love about me is that no matter fucking what, I'm putting in the work, regardless, I'm going to figure it out because I'm a fucking gangster, nigga. But, time and a place. The court proceedings with all of that. And it's even funny when I connect with people and they're like, man, I hope you sued. And I'm like, yeah, if only you knew how systemic racism actually worked. Or if you actually gave a fuck to care, no, I didn't win the case. The guy who hit me and ran me over was able to say that I tripped and fell. And I can remember at the end of the trial a few things. Me bawling my eyes out because what the fuck, I waited 4 years to tell the truth in court. That was my whole thing. It's like, initially they offered me like a $12,000 check and like litigation, and I'm just like, bro, no, that's not gonna cut it. I'm going up for a full ride, at the minimum a partial, scholarship, and I deserve my justice for that. But yeah, the way it all works is if someone who is, I don't know how to say it, but he was a white man who got to make his claim. I'm sharing what I know to be true because, again, I can remember being hit and run over by this car. Like, even when I think about it, I can hear the clunk into my hip. Every time I see an Acura MDX, I think about, man, this is not an extremely high off the ground SUV, in order for me to have been hit in the hip and run over, I can only imagine how, the things that snapped in my leg, snapped, and it was a miracle that nothing broke, but just the way that the laws are in Georgia, which is ironic because Georgia is a state where pedestrians have the right of way. And somehow just the way everything looked on the police report, it was all just really weird and just odd. But yeah, he said that I tripped and fell. The paramedic came who helped me and said no, like that couldn't have been true. There were tire marks in his shin. The doctor who I initially saw said no, that couldn't have been a trip and fall incident. It wouldn't make sense. Witnesses come, say no. I saw this man hit him with the car, run him over. That it's not true. But the jurors decided to split the judgment 50-50, which means that it was both of our fault. And in short, I didn't get anything. I got to and get to live with my injuries for the rest of my life. The judge sat back and just let it happen, and that just is what it is, right? It was heartbreaking for a lot of reasons. Running was one of the first times that I began to see myself and understand that I am great. You know, I am someone who is groundbreaking. I am someone who can shift dynamics. I am someone who can walk into spaces and motivate, inspire, and lead people to their greatness as well. Even back in high school, I took running very seriously. I wasn't someone who was, I felt, extremely educated. Processing things mentally just hasn't always been my strongest suit. It just takes me longer than my peers or even people who I look up to. I know a lot of people who I would say are geniuses, very intelligent people. It's not to say that I'm not intelligent, just again, the way I process things mentally is just different. So athletics to me has just always been where I felt I shined, right? So that was taken away from me and it didn't feel good. But through the process of 2010 and 2014 of going to court, I found P90X. And that's when I began to develop muscles. And I said, oh man, I can be muscular. This is cool. So I started with that program. I stuck with it. It was amazing. There was a yoga flow that on the schedule that would be on Sundays. And it was a 90-minute flow. And I remember thinking, damn, man, this is a lot. I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not keeping up with this. But I would do it every now and again, and it was enjoyable. Like, I would go into it, like, hating it. But at the end of it, of course, I'm like, man, I'm so happy that I did that. My body feels great. Yeah, and I just remember thinking to myself during that time of like, there were so many people who were supporting me and making sure that I had what I needed. As my life started to change drastically. Because what I thought I had was leaving my life. And I just remember grinding my ass off and thinking like, man, I'm gonna get this check and I'm gonna be able to pay all these people back and thank them for their support. Oh God, and thank them for their support in the ways that they have kept me going, because again, like I said, running was me seeing myself for the first time. I didn't receive a lot of affirmation as a child. Nobody really gave a fuck about me. It's what I recognized that I was internalizing as a child. I was being tolerated and responsibilities were being upheld more than I was receiving love. And it sent me down this path of chasing love and chasing approval and appreciation from people, especially in my teens and my 20s, because you become autopilot. You know, a lot of things that society places on everyone, it's hard to recognize it if you're not spending the time doing the work, or even forced, in my predicament, to sit down and recognize these patterns, these habits, these traits. And after the case, the guy shakes my hand and he says, "I'm sorry we had to meet this way." And through reflection, to me, that sounds like a very intentional thing, you know? Like, you knew the game that you were playing, you knew exactly what you were doing, and you did it anyway. And I remember my attorney and we were able to chat with like one or two of the jurors after the case, because what was holding up the case, and I think they're like, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. It's either 10 or 12 jurors that will sit there, right? But there were like 1 to 2 people that were like, "Hey, no, like this is wrong," you know? But their whole thing was like, well, this guy is an upstanding citizen and we want to protect his image. And it's just like, what the fuck does that even mean, bro? Like, he could have killed me. I could have died, you know? And by the grace of God, again, like nothing broke. I still have my life. But he took the dreams of a black man, bro. And I work on every day being in a place of forgiveness and understanding of why this happened to me, and just trying not to hate this man, even though I really want to. I want to be angry so bad, but it's just, I've lived through the anger, I've lived through the frustration. Yo, I've even reached out to this dude on like the internets and the interwebs and shit. And while it may make me feel good in certain moments, after a while I'm just like, I'm so much bigger than this, you know? I don't, my life is so much bigger than that. I'm bigger than that. I'm not really someone, as much as I want to be, I can be, right? I'm human, but again, I just know that I'm bigger than that. But in 2015, right after the case happened, I ended up in a domestic abusive relationship. I met someone, ironically, on a Friday the 13th / Valentine's Day. And it was my first Valentine. And I thought, man, this is the love of my life, you know? Like 3 months later, right before my 26th birthday, I'm being thrown into a wall. I'm being choked. Another time where I feel like I'm fighting for my life. Shit. Another time where I feel like I'm fighting for my life and trying to prove to someone like, hey, I'm not your enemy here. Like I thought we were, you know, a team, like do right, whatever. But that was fun. So I moved back home. I ended up taking this job at Lifetime Fitness, and had the privilege, the honor of being able to use the facility. Got back in the gym. Of course, most heartbreaks do that to you, where you, depending, you know, you can find drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. I tried that, it didn't work. And when I say drugs, it's smoking weed. But neither here nor there. I've always kind of been like a party girl. That was something that I was looking forward to, especially growing up in South Florida. Is being able to go out, drink, and party, shake my ass and shit like that. But yeah, yoga showed up, and I had this amazing teacher at the gym who I loved to take her classes. And one day she taught this beautiful class, and in the end she shared this beautiful message about self. Oh my God, the crying girl. This beautiful message about self-acceptance. And that is when I can recognize the beginning of this yoga transformation for me, and when it became a big part of my life, or started becoming a big part of my life. I asked her for the message, a copy of it, and the next day she showed up with it handwritten. And things like that to me have always been a big deal. Such a small token, but the fact that she took the time to put pen to paper and write this out for me was such a big deal because, again, I've always felt pushed to the side and like no one gave a fuck. And so for someone to take the time out of their life, out of their schedule to help me was a big deal. And Melissa will be someone who, like, that energy will just live with me. And I will honor it. And I get to do that through my teaching and through my practice. But eventually I got into personal training. I did that for a while. It wasn't my biggest desire. It's not something that I necessarily enjoyed, but a girl's gotta work, so a girl's gonna do what she's gotta do. Even through my personal training, I didn't have a car. I can remember walking 6 to 8 miles one way just to get to the gym to train my clients. And I would do that because I didn't have the money to take the bus. A lot of times I didn't even have money to eat, and it was really funny because there's so many like clients that I had who didn't understand. Like, they would invite me to like dinners and like to their homes and things like that, and they would be feeding me for like the first time in like days. I just remember being like, I've always been a very appreciative person. Like, there's not anything that anyone's ever done for me that I don't remember. And even thinking back, like, I've just always had this intention of like paying people back for what they've done for me, because it's like, you don't understand, like, you showed up in my life when I really needed you. Yeah, it's just, it was nice to have those moments. But through the personal training, there were even times where I would sleep at the gym. I would sneak back into that gym just to sleep because I didn't have a home. Holy shit, man. Like, I've been through so much. I forget these things. Oh, God. Oh, man. But I've just been so tunnel vision that knowing that one day I'm gonna fucking make it, and I'm gonna be so much bigger than these little fucking experiences and this stupid petty ass shit with fucking losers and stupid fucking people, and like everybody's gonna have to suck my dick. And it like, oh God. Oh my God. Oh man. And just like watching my mom as a single mother, like the experiences she had, and watching her fight for every fucking thing and fight people, like just so much pain and struggling. Like, it's just so much, bro. It's so fucking much. I can't. Honestly, a lot of days I don't know how I'm still standing. Oh man. And I'm so happy that like the most like is that I just get extremely depressed and I just detach from my body. And legit, I work out. That emotional shit was nice, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how I do all the editing for this, and I also don't want to spend too much time recording. Not that I want to share my story and my why. But I feel like, especially when I get emotional, my dogs, they want to start doing things to comfort me, which is amazing, right? Shout out to Clarence and Charles, the Coleman brothers. But yeah, I definitely want to get this done because I was going to get to this improv class tonight, but it looks like it's raining. But yeah, still, I have things to do. But yeah, all of that to bridge that together is just athletics, fitness. It's just been one of those instinctive things for me. It's been something that's come natural to me. Anyone who knows me sees it, they feel it. It's something that I enjoy. And while I'm not someone who has the strongest desire to be like the best yoga teacher or the best personal trainer, I do want to utilize what I've learned and partner with the appropriate people to put them in those positions to win in those ways if that's a desire for them, and also give them the opportunities that were gifted to me through these experiences. And just I firmly believe that fitness is one of those things that is universal. We all share it. Like, I went to this beautiful run club meetup on Saturday, and we all got to share in running together, you know? Then we were able to share in community together, and it was just a nice feeling. It was great. We all seem to come from different parts of life. There were people I met who were from Australia, from Germany, Austria, Mexico, Argentina, Chile. Like, it was really cool. It was dope. As I got older, fitness has become one of those things that has just kept me disciplined. It has kept me focused on my intention, and that, again, that one day I'm going to make, and I'm going to be so much bigger than the situations and all these other little things that have happened throughout my life. And eventually, I know for sure, like, while distance running is not going to be my thing, I'm not going to get an Olympic gold medal. I was actually thinking about this in my yoga practice today, but I pray that I get to inspire a young Black American boy who sees himself as a distance runner, and they put themselves in the position to dominate that field. Like, usually in that sport, there's American runners, and then they're Africans, respectfully, dominating that field. I have yet to see a Black American. I've been detached from the sport for a while, so I don't know if things have changed, but I haven't seen it. Not in the mile, 2 mile, 5K, 10K, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, when I felt unstable, when I haven't had the stability, I have found ways to keep up with my training. Like, even with my yoga practice, I had a yoga membership, and humbly, it was my opportunity to take showers. Yeah, I was able to take showers because I didn't have operating water at this abandoned house that I was sleeping in, that I had the opportunity to stay in. And again, I forget a lot of times that these were my experiences, but they were my experiences. And someone who's been chasing essentially my potential and my identity through fitness and through movement, which is what I've been bringing home and, you know, putting into my business as it continues to develop, as I know that these are just the beginning stages of what it is that I'm creating, and excited to continue seeing how this expands and how it grows, and being able to help people with what they're going through and navigating. Because I firmly, everyone's going through something. Life doesn't deal anyone a fair hand of cards. It just depends on what you do with your hand and how you utilize it. I just so happen to have been afforded so much grace through my process and assistance through my process, and the support that people have been able to offer me through my process, that I feel it is my duty to give that back to people, and I give back in the ways that I can. Yeah, it's gotten to a point now where, like, my body can only do so much, and yoga has helped me figure out what my boundaries are, how I can manage through my injuries, and how I can also utilize my fitness and movement through whatever it is I'm going or experiencing emotionally, instead of reaching out to so many different outside sources to fulfill those gaps. I utilize movement to continue building myself, continue getting to know myself, I'm a big believer in movement through meditation, or meditating through movement is better said. Today I posted a video of me meditating, and there's a lot of fidgeting just because it is uncomfortable in my body. It doesn't feel the greatest to sit still, just with the way my injuries are set up, and then the things that do come up mentally, I am ready to exit, stage left. But the challenge and understanding that this is just a practice is just such a grounding moment and experience that I refuse to let go of, especially as someone who has wanted perfection so bad and has tried to do everything by the book and crossing the T's and dotting the I's just to feel as if I was just standing still, And something that gets represented to me, especially through people like Beyonce, as she's progressed through her career, and watching her just be able to enjoy what she's created, and be on that stage and just I got to go to Cowboy Carter, and it was just such. I sat there with my chicken nuggets and my beer, just basking in this moment of watching someone who has worked their ass off have the time of their life with their work and with their offspring. I don't know if I should be singing that way, but that's how I talk. But just with their child, and sharing that spotlight, and with other creatives who are, I'm imagining, I don't know the details, but establishing themselves in this career field. And to me, that's fucking beautiful. As I've been sharing, yoga has become something a lot deeper. It's become something a lot more spiritual for me. And I've had the privilege, the honor, the opportunity to practice under and develop my practice through some phenomenal fucking teachers, They've not had the answers that I've been looking for, and they've encouraged me to figure that out for myself, and that's what I do through my teaching. That's what I get to do through creating this business, as I look to open up my own studios and develop my own style of vinyasa to offer to students and develop teachers and et cetera, et cetera. Fitness has just been a way for me to always come back to myself. It reminds me every time that I get on my mat, or I lace up my shoes for a run, or even if I make it to the gym or pull up my TRX, that I'm more than enough, that I am disciplined, that I have put in the work, I continue putting in the work, regardless of what is going on around me. And I'm doing all of this myself. Of course, again, I'm getting help where I can and support where I can, but I'm doing all of this myself, and this is the proof. I was able to connect with someone, again, who is in a position that I would love to be in, I would say in a financial stance, right? And them being someone who recognized and saw in me what I saw in them, even though we're coming from two different spaces, was extremely affirming. And motivated me even more to keep going at this, and not let up. For me, it's no longer about the performance of fitness more than I've just been enjoying my flow. I've been enjoying my practice. I know the outline. I know what it is that I'm looking for. But if my body is calling for something else within the day, I know to tend to that. Like even with my work today, I wanted to do a lot more studying, but this felt extremely important as I've been putting this off to the side for weeks. For weeks I've been putting this off to the side because I still find it uncomfortable sharing my story, but my why is important as I develop my business. Continue finding the right people to join me on this path and assist me in what I'm creating. I've done a lot of this work alone, but I know I need help. I can't do all of it by myself. I do want the takeaways, even from this right now, and whatever it is that you're going through, you can make it. You will get through it. There's nothing that my grandmother says, God brings you to it because you can get through it, you know? And something that shows up in yoga is in those uncomfortable moments where you want to exit, sit with it. Sit with it and breathe. You will be so surprised with the comfort that you will find in that pain. It surprises me every time. Every time I went to an Ashtanga and Hatha practice over the weekend, and those practices are a lot more uncomfortable to me because it's not a vinyasa flow. I can't dance my way through the practice. I've really got to be intentional about those movements, especially with my injuries. I can't avoid certain emotions that will show up as I navigate my injuries. Can't escape through music, you know, because it's a completely different style of the practice. It's the foundation of the practice. And again, I love taking those classes because it keeps me intentional when I do go back to my vinyasa practice, you know? Every time that I move, I'm choosing me again, even when I want a partner, even when I wish I was with my family, even when I wish I had friends or community that understood me for me. And I know that comes with putting myself out there more and things like that, but yeah, I'm just someone who just always feels alone. So I've been extremely grateful that fitness has been there for me. And that is my why.